Speaker of the day, CA Kundal Shah, respected CA Kadiresan Sir, Chairman of Chengalpattu District Branch, and other office bearers of Pondicherry Branch and Chengalpattu Branch of ICI. A very happy morning to all. This is my first meet to you as Chairman of the branch. I would like to place on record my sincere appreciation for the confidence reposed upon me by my colleagues in the committee and the members. I humbly take over the baton of Pondicherry branch of SARC of ICI with a deep sense of gratitude, responsibility, and commitment. Like my predecessor, I would like to diligently work for the profession and hope to bring great laurels to the branch. I have put in the driver's seat this year and looking for the orders of you members for the destination. It will be our endeavor to fulfill the expectation of each and every member of the branch and organize quality programs that will be most useful, beneficial, and topics of current relevance and most wanting to the members at appropriate times. I take this opportunity to thank my parents, my Guru C.A. Lalit Kumar N. Modi, who is though not with us now, but ever living in our memories, without whose contributions and guidance I would not have reached this position. I also express my sincere thanks to all my well-wishers who wanted to see me here for their valuable support and encouragement to this office of chairman. As we unfold another chapter in Pondicherry branch history, with the beginning of new branch year, I express my heartfelt gratitude to our immediate past chairperson, C.A. Kritika, who with her astute leadership and hard efforts further strengthened the foundation of our branch and institution. During this difficult pandemic period, she had organized a record number of seminars and sub-regional conference with record number of participants. I like to place on record our appreciation to her and her then Secretary C.A. Satish Kumar and other colleagues in the committee for their contributions. On branch infrastructure front, we are planning to install an LED wall in the second floor for live webcast of the institute programs and for live telecast of programs happening in the first floor conference hall to accommodate more members and students. We also strive to fulfill the dreams of aspiring CAs and will do the needful to bring in coaching classes and more number of orientation and ITT programs for the benefit of the CA students. We are looking forward to increase the capacity of ITT lab to accommodate more number of students to meet the growing needs of the students enrolling to the CA course. We are in the process of forming a new SICASA committee and we have invited nominations from the desired students. We request all the members to encourage their article students to take position in the SICASA team for a vibrant student activity and student upliftment. At this juncture, we also like to make an important announcement regarding online virtual classes. We, in association with the SARC, are planning to launch a virtual online coaching class. It is about to commence from 24th of March and will last for 5.5 months. This is a very good program and a good initiative of SARC, and for the benefit of members, students of Pondicherry branch, we are also those offering free crash course to them who register through our Pondicherry branch. We request all the students to make use of these things. We request the members to pass on this information to the students associated with them. March is a month of bank branch audit, and we from branch are bringing out our best programs with renowned speakers. These seminars will update members about the latest guidelines notifications, circulars, and other important information that will enable them to perform their bank audit assignment effectively. During the course of the year, we will continue to organize similar knowledge-based seminars, which will go far in giving a professional boost to members. I take this opportunity to welcome CA Kuntal Shah, who, in spite of his busy hour-by-hour schedule of seminar programs, has agreed to be amidst us and speak on important bank audit topic of the year, a new LFR form. He has a vast experience in bank audit and has presented many lucid presentations on how to go about the bank audit. He knows all the nuances of a bank audit, and he is a very, very fit person to talk about this new topic, new LFAR form. We welcome you, sir. I also take this opportunity to express our heartiest welcome to all the members and the participants. I welcome CA Kadiresan sir and Kanjipuram branch members and Pondicherry branch members for their participation. I welcome you one and all. Now over to my secretary, CM Manju Bashni, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, sir. It is my great pleasure to introduce CA Kuntal Shah, the speaker for the day. CA Kuntal Shah is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is a partner in Pradeep R. Shah & Co., Ahmedabad. His areas of specialization include audit, income tax, GST, FEMA, and company law. He is a diploma in computer programming and has secured A+ grade in diploma in computer programming of CDAC. He has authored and co-authored several publications of various committees of ICAI, namely Guidance Note on Audit of Banks 2017 to 2021 edition, Manual on Concurrent Audit of Banks, Early Warning Signals of Fraud through Credit Weakness, Review of Demonetization Activity by Chartered Accountants in Banks, Audit of Foreign Exchange Transactions in Statutory Bank Branch Audit. He has addressed various professional gatherings. To name a few, ICAI's certificate course on concurrent audit of bank conducted around 350 sessions across India in over 85 batches. Advanced ITT course at Ahmedabad branch of WIRC of ICAI. Intensive course on service tax under negative list organized by Ahmedabad Management Association. CPE seminars organized by regional councils and study circles. CPE seminars organized by Board of Studies of ICAI, Committee for Capacity Building of CA Firms and Small and Medium Practitioners, ICAI, Committee on Information Technology. Seminar organized by Chartered Accountant Association of Ahmedabad. He has deliberated on many topics covering a wide range of subjects in auditing, taxation, and office automation. With this introduction, I welcome you, sir. Swagat che, sir.
Hello, am I audible?
Over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Welcome, sir. Yes, sir. Now the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, sir.
First of all, extremely sorry it was late. I'm actually not at my place. I am at Rajkot branch of ICAI. I'm connecting from here, and there is an ongoing seminar here as well. So was busy onto that count, so I could not connect it, and because I need to set up my system as well, there was some network issue here, so I am connecting through phone right now. Apart from that, it is always, I think, within a span of less than 6 months, I am again back with Pondicherry branch seminar. It was last time, I think we have discussed in detail about this CBS minute level, granular level. This time we are there for LFR. There is an amendment that is there in LFR, and there are wide. Sir, you need to mute yourself. Yeah, thanks. So there are various changes that are there in this recently, though I cannot say recently, it was in September. This new LFR, which are there for the members to report on to in FY 2021. So let's understand first what are the changes. Let's also understand why such kind of things would have happened. Also start try to understand or read in between the lines why such kind of things are there now presently into this LFR. There may be certain things which may come up as a surprise to you as well. My sincere request is at least take a review of at least 3 to 4 times review of this new LFR. Then only you will be in a position to understand what it is trying to convey and what are the changes. How will you cope up with those changes with in terms of review or the auditing side, right? So that's where the entire things would be. So without wasting much time, let's start with LFR. The LFR got amended on September 5, 2020. That amendment actually came in for both CSA as well as SBAs. Is there? Okay. So now that this revised LFR is applicable from financial year 2021 onwards, right? This year LFR or this the circular lists down certain guiding principle apart from the questionnaire as well. So we need to understand certain guiding principles, which were those principles, and what are the changes that are there. So what I have done is I have not considered the entire LFR. That's not possible at all. I have listed out few important amendments that are there in the revised LFR, and I have also included a portion of from those that is there any system support available, or whether we can do anything from system, or which process we should be carrying out for the auditing side. So let's say if you go to the bank and you want to audit under this revised LFR, then how it should be. Right, so that's where the entire process is also narrated into the second half of this PPT. In any case, I think I have shared this PPT as well as my PPT on CBS, audit under CBS environment, right? So branch can share it with the members that are there, right? So let's first understand which are the guiding principle. Now, this time it is categorically mentioned that auditor would be requiring to carry out transaction testing, right? So that is going to be a very challenging one probably this time onwards, that it refers to transaction testing, and not only transaction testing, then in certain cases process testing or process verification as well, right? So that is one aspect. Then the second guiding principle refers to providing input to central statutory auditor on adequacy of implementation of various policy and regulatory requirements, efficacy of the system, and assurance function, risk management, compliance, and internal audit. Right. So these are the principles that were there, and now then there are threshold level issues as well. So what RBI has done is this time they have devised that way that you need to review transaction beyond threshold limit. So there are various thresholds given in revised LFR. Into that, you need to do a transaction detailing. That is the ones which are beyond threshold, and those accounts which are below threshold, the system and processes are required to be checked and commented upon. Fair enough, right? So that's it. That is what is we need to understand from this one. So what we need to do is we need to first understand what is threshold. We'll discuss that into this presentation as well. So once that breaches the threshold, you need to do a detailed auditing. Verification of data integrity and data related control systems with a special thrust on data input used in MIS at corporate level. Now, this is very important point, because what happens that we may face challenges, various challenges into this aspect, that the verification of data integrity and data related to computer system, that whether any input that is used into this one is whenever this input is used to generate an MIS, which is used by the corporate office or the head office. Now, this is going to be a very challenging one for the branch auditor, because many of the times we are not aware with how the system is configured, or where the manual interventions are, or where the system or where the data is, or where the transactions are processed. Some transactions would have been processed by some other branch, though the account would be at our branch. In that scenario, it may become a challenging one. So yes, we need to gear up for this. These are the changes that are there, right? So we need to gear up for this, and we need to devise our audit strategies in the same manner in which the entire thing is drafted. So I would suggest that you just start with us by scratch. You have the blank LFAR copy. Just take a print of that and start mentioning. First LFAR copy should have that which are the documents or the details that you would be seeking from the branch, right? That is very important, because there are a lot of data that is required to be reported into this LFAR. So you need to first prepare the laundry list of the the data and the details or the documents that you would be requiring. So please prepare that way in line with the LFAR requirement. Second copy of LFAR should contain your audit process, that how are you planning to carry out audit for this under particular LFAR, right? So that is what is very important one. Once we have that, I would suggest that into that audit process also mention the menu codes or the report name, or how would you like to have this entire verification carried out. Then only you will have a comprehensive policy or process available, and then you will be in a position to do audit in bit faster and a comprehensive manner. Otherwise, what will happen is, when you are going for drafting of report, at the end you will find that you have not verified this portion, that portion, or oh, this is like this way, last year, up to last year it was something else, right? So it should not happen that way. So that's why my earnest request is that please read the LFAR. There are a lot of changes this time, right? And we should not be in a situation, the catch-22 situation at the time of reporting, right? So please carry out scrutiny properly. As far as the broad part is concerned, that there is no change at all. Its reporting parameters are same. There is nothing this one right. There are no change into asset, this one liability, profit and loss, general aspect, but there are multiple changes within this. Majority of changes under advances. Then under general aspect of banking, wherein the books and records and other changes are there, please review those. So what we are now doing is, we are going to start one by one the important changes that according to my this one review, whichever are the changes that I have observed, I will be discussing that in detail right now. So under the advances, the threshold one. Now the threshold of earlier 2 crore is now extended to 10 crores, and 10% of aggregate balance of fund-based and the non-fund-based advances, which area is lower. So now what we need to do is that total exposure, meaning thereby what till time what we used to do was, we only used to take the exposure on the balance sheet. So we used to take the general ledger or the balance sheet, and we used to see that what is the amount of advances, and based on that percentage we used to carry out, and or 2 crore, whichever is lower, that was there earlier. But this time it asks for not only on balance sheet but the off balance sheet exposure as well. So what we need to do is, we need to take a report from the branch containing all advances account, right? And for the purpose of ascertaining 10% value, we need to add 2-3 aspects. That is, one, we need to first take the balance sheet figure, on balance sheet figure, total advances, plus the guarantees, the LCs which are outstanding. So add up those those points as well, and then arrive at 10% of the value. Now, whether 10 crore or that value, whichever is lower, right? So that becomes your threshold. So anything above that one, right? All these accounts you need to verify in detail, right? It also requires transaction testing for those accounts. Specific format is prescribed for reporting of observation. There is a specific format that is given, that how many accounts you have verified, what is the percentage of verification you have carried out in terms of total advances and whatnot. There is an entire list is given. Now this requires you to carry out processes in detail. So what we need to do as an auditor, that whenever we try and verify certain thing for this under this particular LFAR, we need to have in Excel what are the things that we would like to verify based on LFAR or based on system manual intervention or something. So we need to have entire list ready, and with number of accounts we can prepare a matrix that we have verified these many accounts, these aspects. So you need to prepare such kind of checklist in line with what are the LFAR requirements, right? So that would actually give you a lot of insight about this one, right? And it will ensure that you do not miss out anything in any of the type of account. So please that kind of file or the template as well. Then comes the listing of quick mortality accounts, cases wherein the accounts have turned into NPA within 12 months of disbursement. In that scenario, what will happen is that it will be considered as a quick mortality, and the account wise information is required to be mentioned under LFAR now on. Right, so please be sure that whenever you find there is a new NPA account, verify that when the disbursement took place. If within 12 months, then you need to report it as quick mortality, right? Correctness of interest updation on system, and whether interest rates have been reviewed in line with changes in reference rates. Now these are the very important ones. See, when you say that correctness of interest updation, then you need to be very sure, or you should be aware of that from where the system updation takes place, right? So that is, you need to check that from system that yes, interest rate is correctly updated, not only up to 31st of March, but during the year as well. If there is a change in the interest rate during the year, then we also need to check that whether the same is as per sanction terms or not, right? So that is first aspect. Then the second aspect is that when the interest rate is to be derived from an external benchmark rates or an internal benchmark rate, that is MCLR or some other external benchmarking, then whether the rates are getting changed with the changes that is under an external EBLR or MCLR or other benchmark rates, right? If that is not happening, we need to report it into this LFAR. Now this is going to be a bit of a tricky one for the auditor, so you need to understand the menu codes or the reports through which you can verify those kind of things. Then comes the frequent renewal of short-term loans. This is a perennial issue that we all observe, that since there is no financial information is available, the banks would go ahead with short-term renew or short-term review of the loans. If there are multiple reviews of a small this one without obtaining financial statements, in that scenario we need to report it into LFAR, stating that there is no comprehensive review that has been carried out into these many accounts, right? So please ensure that this reports information is properly reported. Then comes the validity of credit rating and correctness of credit rating in updation into the system. Now this is very important one, because what happens that banks would be obtaining credit rating report once they have sanctioned the loan. Thereafter they don't report anything, or they do not update anything, or probably they may get a credit rating report but they don't update into the system, right? Or the validity has expired, right? And still they are using the old credit rating score. So in that scenario, this time categorically it is mentioned that it has to be here. Now credit rating has a direct impact on capital adequacy, that's the Basel working. So please ensure that the credit rating, whatever is updated into the system, is matching with the CRAR computation or the bucket wise listing, right? So if that is not matching, then also there will require an MOC, or proper changes are required to be carried out therein as well. Now it is not as simple as that I have mentioned, because now onwards you need to report that are there any instances of manual intervention into the system. So in this scenario, there will be a direct manual intervention into the directly the CRAR software, whereas the CBS says something else. And then this time there is a question that is whether there are which are the number, which softwares are in use at the branch level, and whether all the softwares are properly connected or synced with CBS. In this scenario, we need to mention that no, this is not, and hence we need to report it in that particular spaces. Then comes the loan to companies for buyback transactions. Now, this is going to be a very tricky one in terms of the information that are that is available at the branch level. See, because buyback companies would be doing it, they may issue. Hello. Hello. Am I audible properly? Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Someone's microphone is on. Okay. Yeah. So this time buyback would require us to review the borrowers, that is the company corporate borrowers, whether there are any changes in the share capital as compared to 31st of March 2020 financials, and if during the year, and whether they have utilized any of the funds from CC or the term loan for this one. For the buyback, this one transaction. Now that is a bit tricky because probably we may not have the complete information available from the branch. So we need to collectively work onto that, the information that is available in the communication file of the branch, and then we need to review the MCA, this one as well, the MCA information that is available. So, but this time there is a specific query and we need to respond to that query under an LFAR. Then comes correctness of computation of drawing power, whether the drawing power is correctly computed. Right now, this is going to be a difficult one because you may be verifying, let's say 10 accounts, and DP is required to be computed on monthly basis. So this time it may be about 120 computations that we need to make, but yes, this time it is included. So what we need to do is we need to first ascertain what is the policy of the bank with respect to the paid stock. Right, whether the creditors are excluded, or whether the creditors are excluded only to the extent of the value assessed at the time of CMA, right? And what are the margins, applicable margins for the account, right? Because of the COVID, there is a relaxation in some margin requirement as well. So whether they have followed that part or not. So likewise, we need to verify that what is the drawing power that is coming in, and this drawing power once determined whether the same is correctly updated into the system or not, right? And once that is updated into the system is also showing the same result as that of the one that we computed, right? And we need to keep the working paper as well, right? So don't forget, just don't prepare like a calculator that some working is there and we have verified. So don't go with that one. Have a copy of this computation for our working as well, right? Then comes an important point where the stock audit is required but not carried out, or where the stock audit was carried out but no action was taken against the adverse remarks. Right now, that is what is very important this time, because a lot of time we have observed that the comments or some queries mentioned by stock auditor is generally not taken care of, or they do not reply to, respond to, or they do never work on to the correction of such kind of thing. In that scenario, it becomes very difficult, but this time it is required to be mentioned in LFAR. So you cannot say that way that we have not verified or the bank has not carried out. You simply report it into your audit report stating this account, the stock audit was carried out on so and so, and the observation so and so is not complied with. Then comes the obtaining of diligence report for multiple banking or a consortium banking arrangement. So whenever there is a consortium banking or a multiple banking, the diligence report is required to be obtained. Now this is an exhaustive report that is generally obtained from a professional, that is CS or a CA or ICWA. So just see to it whether the same is obtained or not. If at all obtained, review those that report. That report is an exhaustive report and it gives you a lot of insight about it. If it is not obtained, specifically mention that it is not obtained for these accounts. Right, don't mention now onwards, don't report in LFR as yes, no, generally yes, generally no, not kind of, not this kind of reporting, otherwise it will create a lot of problem for you in future. Right, then comes the red flagged accounts, the accounts which have been marked as red flag because of various early warning signals. And is there any deviations observed in such accounts? Right, so that is what is required to be reported into LFR specifically this time. Then comes adverse feature observed in top 5 standard accounts, large accounts. Right, see now understand, not only on the NPA side you need to verify this one adverse feature into top 5 standard account as well. So you need to now not only 10% and 10 crore, or you need to now start searching for standard large advances as well. Right, okay. Then comes security creation in case of lease finance. So whether security is properly created in case of lease finance, right? So that is required to be reported this time. Now this is very dangerous one. Identification and classification of advances through automated system without manual intervention. This is what you need to mention it in your LFAR as a branch auditor LFAR. Now, please understand, manual intervention can be through multiple ways. I have shared my CBS presentation where I have discussed about 14 to 15 aspects, wherein if you have just carried out small change or you have passed an transaction through system, then also the system will not be in a position to verify, system will not be in a position to identify account as NPA, right? So please understand, manual intervention should not be read only with that you have some menu code wherein you can specifically say that this account should not be marked as NPA. There can be other ways as well, right? So that is what is I have shared with the branch. You'll all get that background material as well. One more background material I have shared is in this narrative form that contains various manual interventions and what can be the impact on this one financials because of those manual interventions. So that also you can refer to. Then comes correctness of classification in SMA types, special mention account types, as per RBI guidelines. Now SMA is SMA 0, 1, 2. 1 and 2 you can very well understand because it is based on the overdue amount, so that the system can take care of. But for SMA 0, there are incipient stress related things as well. Right, in that scenario, you need to be very particular about what you would be verifying, whether any system is there or system is not available, and in that scenario what are they how they are reporting that as SMA, right? So that is what we need to review this time and report it. Now this time there is a specific feature that accounts with 10 crore and above, downgraded or upgraded, reasons to be provided. Now I still doubt which kind of reasons we need to provide as an auditor. Now that fellow did not pay the amount, so his account got NPA. That the fellow paid the amount, so his account got out of NPA. I still don't know what kind of comment or reasons we need to provide into this one. But let's hope that we can at least mention something that these many accounts were downgraded or upgraded in excess of 10 crore during the year. And the reasons would be that these installments were not paid, or he has paid the entire due. And once the entire due is cleared, his account got upgraded. So probably that we may be mentioning, right? Okay. Adherence to RBI guidelines on restructuring. Whether restructuring guidelines issued by RBI have been followed or not, that is what the question. So we need to check all the restructuring aspects, and we need to check whether the accounts where the restructuring has taken care of, whether the RBI guidelines have been followed or not. Now the important part this time is COVID related special dispensations, wherein you need to review that there is a one-time restructuring facility also given this time. The restructuring last year also it was given for MSME. Yeah, right. So there are multiple restructuring formats that are going on, right? So which one was followed and whether the RBI guidelines were followed or not, that is what we need to review. Upgradation, whether it is in line with RBI guidelines, if not, whether auditor disagrees with the said upgradation. See, a lot of banks were doing that way, that they used to just, let's say the account is overdue by 96 days. So they used to collect dues of about 7 days, equivalent to 7 days. And then the account which was already into NPA, right, was that was getting upgraded, stating that now the dues are up to 89 days only, right? So that is not permitted. RBI stated that when the account has slipped into NPA, you need to recover the entire overdue, right? So without recovering entire overdue, you cannot upgrade the account just because you are now within the overdue, this one overdue amount which is less than this one, right? So please understand that aspect. Then comes the process under IBC is mandated but not initiated. Now this is going to be a challenging task. This one, the decree part, multiple things are there. So under IBC, the process is required to be initiated or something to be worked on to, but the same is not initiated, right? So that is very challenging one, and we need to report that on a specific detail wise, right? So that is going to be a difficult one this time. Obtaining valuation report for NPA accounts once in 3 years, this was part of IRAC guidelines since years, right? Only they have reiterated that whether the valuation report is obtained or not. So now we have a specific point and we can very well mention that into our this one LFR. Then comes, we need to give account wise details of compromise or a settlement or a write off cases involving write off or waiver in excess of 50 lakhs, right? So once that is there, we need to mention that account wise detail, that these accounts are there with the compromise or a settlement or a write off is in excess of 50 lakh rupees, right? So this is also one of the points that we need to be reporting. Promptness of branch in ensuring execution of decrees obtained for recovery. Age-wise analysis of decrees obtained and pending execution is required to be mentioned. Now this is a difficult one because we need to rely completely on what the banks would be saying. In that scenario, we may ask them that how many cases you have got a decree and how many cases you still need to get it executed or get it worked on to that decree, right? So that is where it is going to be a challenging one this time. Then comes appropriation of recovery against principal and interest. So what is the bank's policy? If the bank policy says that first you need to recover charges or then interest and principal, or principal, interest and charges, what is the hierarchy that the bank has prescribed, and whether the same is in the same manner the recovery is happening or appropriation of recovery is happening or not, that is what is required to be reported. Now this, you need to see it through the system. In case of an NPA, wherever there is a recovery, which are the amount which is getting knocked off first. So that is what is very important. Centralized record maintenance, whether auditor received relevant document asked for, right? Now we have almost all the time, all the auditors have a complaint that we request for certain set of documents which are there in CPCs, RACPCs or some document factory, and they are not in position to trace those documents, or certain part of documents are missing that into our LFR, but this time they have given categoric space here only. So wherever there is a missing file case or this case, that case, you need to very well mention this in a specific note under this LFR, right? Now this were up to advances. Any questions up to this? You can post it in chat box, or you can also unmute yourself and you can ask. Any questions? I think no, then I'll Any branch official, can you just check who has joined through Pondicherry branch or some other?
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, can you just check, is there any question, or should I go ahead with the other part of the presentation?
Yes, sir. You can continue with the session, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, not an issue. I thought one major portion is completed, so I'll just ask. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can go with it, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. If any member has any question, you can post it into chat box. Once
Yeah.
I'll finish up on another portion, we will take care that as well. So you can keep on posting if there are any questions.
Yes,
Right?
sir. Yes, sir. We are doing a compilation and we can discuss that at the end
Sure.
of the session, sir.
Sure,
Yes, sir.
sure.
Yes,
Not
sir.
an issue. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So now we have completed advances, important amendments. Now under liability, there is a question with this one, that is there any auto renewal FCNRB deposits? If so, whether the non-resident status is confirmed by the bank. Now, this is a very valid question, but how to do it, right? That becomes very difficult for us. We need to get a list of FCNR that was there at the opening, how many FCNR got renewed, right? And whether for all renewal, or whether that is under an auto renewal mode, or manually they have renewed or something. Whether they have ensured that non-resident status is confirmed by the bank, whether the person is still non-resident or not, any communication, email communication, or some other communications are there or not. So that is what we need to review, right? So please ensure the compliance with this one, right? That would be a very important one for us this time. Then comes compliance with minimum balance charges requirement in individual savings account. Whether minimum balance charges requirement is properly configured under for individual savings account, and whether the same is being charged that way. Now I don't know why this point is there into this one, but since the point is there, we can select sample of 5 or 10 savings account. We should get information of type of savings account and requirement of minimum balance under those cases, and then we can go ahead with the review of this particular aspect. Then comes books and records, which are the softwares that are used at branch and not integrated with CBS. Right now, this is a challenging one, because even the branch, we never get information from the branch that which are the software that they are using. Probably this is the fallout from Nirav Modi case, wherein the SWIFT system and this one software, the CBS was not interconnected, right? Procedure laid down for manual intervention to system generated data and authentication is also very important to be reviewed, because see, it might have been mentioned as a one-line item in LFAR, but it has greater ramification of it, right? So please understand each line by line, word by word, and that too with respect to systems, because in systems they have mentioned plenty of things, right? And that is going to be a very challenging task this time. So for manual intervention, I am suggesting that you refer to the two or other background material that I have shared, right? And you can get some idea information about that one. Now it also asks for auditors comment. See the wordings. The auditors comment on data integrity, including data entry, checking correctness, integrity of data, no back-ended strategy, etc. Now, as a branch auditor, how would you be able to review back-ended strategies? Because the branch officials do not have direct access to the database, or they mean the back-ended means that are there any updates that are there which are updated with the back-end, that is with a earlier date, right? This generally happens with this renewal of limits with the date or the stock statement, right? The date they are mentioning is of past, whereas they update it in the current period, right? So that is what is important one, right? Which is used for MIS or HO or a CO level, right? So that is very important this time. If at all something is not this one available or applicable, then we need to mention that or as a disclaimer or something. But please ensure that you responded each and every question. Please don't keep this report or make this report as we did to the previous year as a previous type of report as yes, no, and thank you report. Please don't make this one. Right, we need to be reviewing and we need to be reporting properly for all this issues. Then comes the most dangerous one of this part, frauds. First and the foremost thing that
Okay, so now mobile data.
first and the foremost thing is that frauds detected and classified, but not having confirmation from RBI, meaning thereby they have not updated the central fraud registry. Right. In that scenario, we need to report that these are the frauds that are detected, but not updated into a central fraud registry of RBI or are not updated under FRMS. Now, then comes auditor's comment with respect to fraud. That is the potential risk. There is a detailed list of early warning signal mentioned in LFAR itself. That's a part of LFAR now. So you need to comment on that probably because of this or because of that. What is the reason or what are the possible areas at which through or the fraud might be there. Possibility of fraud. So now it becomes very important for all of us to ensure that we review all those early warning signals. If we find in some of the accounts, then we can tag those accounts with this one that see these are the accounts where this EWS is getting invoked or something is that. And most importantly, what we need to do as the auditor is that we need to first comment whether the bank has a system to track this EWS. Because what happens that if bank is not having a system, what is the role of a chartered accountant? You cannot go to all the borrower and check this one early warning signal. Early warning signal system is required to be set up by the bank first, and we will review that whether the system is properly in place and there are some issues with that or not. If there is no system, you cannot ascribe their responsibility on us. So we need to be very clear onto this. If the system is not there, then we need to mention that there doesn't appear to be any system. Reason being, we have observed in following case, this was the point. And when compared it with or when reviewed it with EWS, a requirement, early warning signal, that is part of master direction of fraud. And right, these are the points wherein these accounts should have been classified as under the EWS, but have not been classified. Right, so that way you can mention, and that way you can transfer your entire this one to the branch, because they need to do the first working. Right, you simply cannot do that. Otherwise, what will happen? A time will come that you only prepare balance sheet, you only sign it, the branch would only be sitting there. So that's how you cannot work it into that manner, right? That is their responsibility, management responsibility. Then comes the effectiveness of EWS, early warning signal system. Now, whether there is a system in place or not, that is first part. If there is a system, then how do they track? Because EWS are not only generated from system, it refers to various aspects which are outside the system as well. So in that scenario, how the branch or the bank system is behaving with respect to EWS, right? And once that is there, then you can very well report it into this LFAR. Then comes the KYC and AML, adequacy of system and processes with respect to KYC and AML, adherence to KYC and AML guidelines by branch on a test check basis, right? So we need to now check the KYC and AML part as well. So please review it now and keep record of whatever you have reviewed, right? Otherwise, what we used to mention that yes, it is generally followed. No, please don't do that. During our sample verification or test check basis, we have observed that, or in 10 cases, we have observed this one, and or there are no material discrepancies have been observed, meaning thereby you have mentioned something and you have verified something, and whatever you verify, just please keep a record of that into your working. I don't want to say that you bring in the photocopies of all this thing, but it is mentioned that this was there, this account we have verified, this was the type of account. Fair enough. Then comes one more point, that is management information system. Now this is very crucial in terms of a branch auditor, wherein we may not find that there is a proper system and procedure available at the branch level to ensure the data integrity part. These are all very difficult propositions there into LFR with respect to data integrity, right? Now, as a branch auditor, we may not even get an access to the system for our normal working. Now, how can we expect that we'll have this one as well? But see, this is a part of LFR now. So we need to now devise our process. We cannot simply duck the question, or we cannot simply go ahead with the disclaimer. At least carry out some process, whichever process that you find that yes, it can be like this way. And then you can put up disclaimer as well, but at least carry out some process which can be said to be that yes, auditor did work over it. Auditor did work over it, but because of lack of information, data, or an access to the system, the auditor could not conclude it, right? But it cannot be mentioned right from the beginning that yes, I could not conclude anything, right? So that cannot be the case. Any case observed wherein the data integrity was compromised. Now these are all see, it's going to be very challenging. And when in my physical seminar, I sarcastically say that you need to read it. Why I'm saying that read it, but no, don't read as is. Read in between the line as well. So what they have asked for, what they are thinking, what is their thought process, right? And what will happen if you do not work in this proper fashion? Otherwise, you will be in a deep trouble one day. So please ensure that we carry out our audit, and most importantly, we keep our working paper in line with what is the requirement. Otherwise, it is going to be a very difficult task this time. Right. So I would always suggest that members, please be vigilant. Please be vigilant. Don't take it very lightly this time. And this time IFC is also there, internal financial control. Right. So you need to work onto IFC as well. Right. The technical guide is out. Yesterday, the guidance note is also out. There is some technical guide on this LFR is also coming in. Right. It will come in a day or two's time. Right. Okay. Then comes response to be given against each or type of audit. Now, excellent part this time is that till last year, what was there into LFR, that whether branches reviewed the audits carried out in the branch, and whether informing their opinion, whether they have reviewed all the this one or not. But now they have categorically mentioned the name of audit, whether RBI audit took place, whether internal audit took place, whether forex audit took place, whether legal audit took place, whether credit audit is there. So now list of audits they have mentioned, and now you need to mention as an auditor that yes, I have verified this audit report is of so and so date, and we have verified the audit report, and there was no comment, or the comment what was there has been properly complied with. Right. So that is what is there for us to review and to mention in the LFR. So I think these were the amendments that I wanted to share. Then there is a second part in this one. But is there any question? Can you just check that? Yeah, Anand P has a question that back-ended corrections are taken at higher level at RO and ZO, difficult to find. I completely agree with you. I completely agree. But sadly, this LFAR contains it under branch auditor. So it becomes very difficult. In that scenario, what we can say that MR letter we can take, and then we can put a disclaimer that as per information provided to us, no backdated is possible at the branch level, right? And hence and we do not have any access to the system in terms of a back-ended or any report containing updates directly carried out through backend, right? In view of that, we are not in a position to offer our comment. So kind of that comment also we can place through, but I completely agree with you, Anna, that this is the problem. Any other questions? Notes. My goodness. I thought there will be a lot of questions, so I kept it very minimalistic.
Yeah.
Not an issue.
Yes, sir.
I thought I should be giving more time on question and answer. Anyways, still there are a lot of points that are pending. Once we finish off that, we'll once
Yes.
again, right? Not an issue.
Okay.
That we need to understand that what are the changes, and what we need to do on into those changes, because we should not be caught uh, in such a situation that we were not even aware of. I think something is there. Yeah, Geeta has a point. If updates are done at backend, exception report will be generated. Not necessary. See, we need to understand the exception report first. Exception reports are of multiple types. What we generally refer to exception report is the transaction related exception report. Fair enough. Okay. Now what happens is that there are exception reports available for non-financial transaction and master updation as well. But generally what we get is financial transaction related exception report. Secondly, exception report is generated as per this one, the exceptions classified and identified by the bank. Right. So in certain cases, they may not have classified or identified. So in that scenario, it will be a difficult one. Right. So that is first point. As far as the back-ended updation is there, back-ended updation can be of any type that you directly update the database. That is the most grave one. Right. Then there are certain cases wherein you update it into the system, wherein you have an option available wherein you can update it backdated information, that is date. As the example I have taken, this limit, that is limit renewal. So 180 days, right? So you will mention that limit was renewed on 1st of January. And you are updating today, that is on 21st of March. So that becomes a backdated updation. On 21st of March, you update that the stock statement for February was received on 15th of March. Right. But system is also allowing. So such kind of thing would be there probably at the branch level. Right. But we are not aware of how the system is working. We need to have a conclusive evidence. Right. Once we have a conclusive evidence, then only we can very well say, yes, this is the problem. Fair enough. Okay. Then comes this part of presentation is this from this onwards is based on that you have certain important LFAR amendments, and for those LFAR amendments, what is the requirement or an audit process, either through the system or outside the system, what you should be carrying out, right? So that is what I have tried and assimilated certain important processes which are required to be carried out, right? Yeah, Tyagarajanji, you have raised your hand. You can unmute and ask your question. K. Tyagarajanji. Do you want to speak to, sir? No, I suppose there is because of mistake. Yeah. So for this purpose, large advances for those in respect of which the outstanding amount is in excess of 10% of outstanding aggregate balance of fund based and non-fund based. Right. So what we should be doing is report on all advances including NFB limit. If not readily available, seek the report wherein NFB limit are also included. So that is first part. Assuming that that report is also not available, so you need to obtain first the advances report, you need to obtain the guarantee report, you need to obtain the LC report. Fair enough. Then you need to aggregate that one. Ascertain the total advances, that is FB and NFB as per GL or the balance sheet date. And then what you need to do is you need to customer ID wise, you need to aggregate FB and NFB limit. And once that is there, what you can do is the 10% of whatever you have ascertained in step number 2 will be tracked with in step number 3. Fair enough. So this is how the entire process should be there. So what we need to do is we need to prepare such kind of audit plan. Otherwise, what will happen is that once we go to the branch, we'll not be aware of how I should be going ahead with the auditing, right? So that's why I always say that mention that everything in detail for your this one, that what is this plan is all about. Then in LFR, it is prescribed that account number to be mentioned. However, I would suggest that you also mention first ID. Now, it may be possible that under account ID, whenever there is an online reporting, so it will only take account number. So in that scenario, you report account number wise, because one customer can have multiple, but in account name, in bracket, you can mention first ID. That would be also very useful for the reader of the report. Right, though it is not mentioned, and that's why I mentioned it in red font. Fair enough. So now just see to it this multiple accounts that you will be mentioning. There will be total A, total B, total C. Total outstanding is X, Y, and Z. And then the percentage examined will also come into place here in the table itself, right? So now your LF here would specifically states the fact that how many accounts you have verified, or what is the percentage of verification that you have carried out, right? Now this is the case of a quick mortality as we have referred. See, now this is an account number, account name, and the balance at the year end is required to be reported, right? So first and the foremost thing is obtain the list of NP account, obtain the report containing list of all advances with the date of sanction and disbursement, right? Review the account, identify the NPA in the year under review, right? And use CBS functionality of account master verification for sanction and disbursement date. So that also is possible when we go to ACI in Finacle, right? We can find out the account master. And alternatively, account statement for transaction can also be reviewed, so that when the first disbursement took place and when the NPA is identified, right? So these are multiple ways of working. You can devise your own process, you can have your own set of things that are there, and then based on that you can carry out your auditing. Then comes whether in borrower accounts the interest rate is correctly fed into the system. We have discussed this part, right? But how to carry out in this entire audit? So auditor should seek a report containing interest parameter information for each advance account. In case of unavailability of the said report, auditor can carry out following alternative process. So what we need to do is obtain report containing all advances account as on 31st of March 2021. So that is the first point. Then what you need to do is use interest parameter as interest change history information related menu codes in CBS. You will find these codes into my working the material that I have shared, right? INTTM, INTTI, INTCI, AINTRPT, INTPRF, right? Or interest rate history under TCS banks and in the FlexCube as well. So everything is mentioned into that this other background material. So you can use those commands and review the same with sanction letter, including amendment. So what the sanction letter was stating and whether the same is matching with this sanction terms or not. Like that is what is important one. Then comes the MCLR or an EBLR. In continuation of the previous slide, auditor should also review the following reports. One list that we are required to keep with us is this one. Whether what are the changes during the year under MCLR or an EBLR? Date-wise change, that is upward or downward, is required to be compiled in spreadsheet. So that is what is required at the first stage. And then what we need to do is we need to review the interest master. Once we review the interest master, we will be in a position to get information on changes in interest rate. Fair enough. So whether the changes in interest rates are in sync with the changes in MCLR or an EBLR rate. So that's how we will be in a position to understand whether the rates have been properly updated into this one, right? Alternatively, auditor can also generate interest report for entire period for an account and can review the different rate of interest applied in the account, and we can compare it whenever there is a change in interest rate, whether the change is from a particular date to date, right? And whether the change upward or a downward is equivalent to the upward and downward change in MCLR on an EBLR. So that way also you can do it and you can keep that as working paper. So whichever way you find it suitable, but keep your working papers, right? Just because you have seen there into the system that is perfectly fine or perfectly in order, please don't do that. That is going to create a lot of problem to you, right? So keep your working paper, keep your working paper, keep your working paper, right? Either it can be in a soft form or it can be on a hard copy, right? Then comes the frequent renewal rollover of short-term loans. Now, each bank has a different set of processes to review and renew the loans and the updation thereof in CBS. We need to now understand first that what's the process to be followed in CBS by bank. Obtain reports of review renewal during the year, right? And then we can carry out this entire review process. Alternatively, what we can do is report of all advances at the beginning of year and end of year will also be useful in identifying changes in limit expiry. That is going to be an important this one. In case of operative accounts, the renewal would also have entry in drawing power limits under DP history. So we can make use of that as well, right? So we can have either the first set of process or the alternative process, whichever way, because each bank will have a different set of this processes to renew and review the account. So first we need to ascertain that, and we need to change, or we need to have our processes in that fashion. Right. Then comes whether correct and valid credit rating, if available, of the credit facility of bank's borrower from RBI accredited credit rating agency has been fed into the system. So first we need to understand that what is the process that the a bank is following for updation of credit rating in CBS. At times it has been observed that the credit rating details are updated directly into the CRAR computation software. So if that is the case, that is going to be a difficult one. Then we need to mention categorically that it is not flowing from CBS, right? So correctness of credit rating should be verified. Obtain the list of accounts wherein external credit rating is mandatory, right? Bank will have a policy 5 crore and above accounts wherein the credit rating is required. Then obtain the list of that, and whether the credit rating is applicable and obtained, applicable and not obtained, or obtained and not updated, or obtained or incorrectly updated, right? So these are the issues. Are there any instances wherein the credit score is poor and which has been marked as unrated, meaning thereby that's not, no credit rating is obtained? Is there any issue? Is there any manual intervention? If you find that, mention it under the MIS and this system related issue. Did the bank provide loans to companies for buyback of shares and securities? See, no one is going to give you loan directly. That is prohibited by Companies Act, right? That you cannot take a loan for the buyback. You need to do it from your reserves only, right? Now, what we need to do is that we need to first and foremost need to carve out the corporate borrowers out of the total advances report. Once that is there, we need to review the financial statement of those borrowers. We need to have the search report obtained from company secretary, right? And we need to review the company master data from MCA website for any change post to the financial statement on record. So this time we'll have a financial statement of 31st of March 2020. It contains the capital, paid up capital as 15 lakh rupees. Whereas when I see that into the MCA right now, it says that the capital is about 7 lakh rupees only, example. Meaning there is a reduction of capital, maybe because of the buyback, right? Review the communication file with the bank seeking permission for the change in capital structure, because the permission is generally, it is part of sanction letter that you need to obtain our permission first in case of any change. In case of buyback transaction, review the account statement for utilization of CC, OD limit or a term loan proceeds for the same. Right. So once you zero it on that, is there any buyback transaction? Then you need to review the CC and the OD limit and the term loan proceeds. Right. So once that is ascertained, that yes, it is used, then we need to mention that way that this limit was utilized as well. Then comes, is the DP properly computed? So we need to review the details of stock statement, book debt statement, creditors information, other financial information provided by borrower. We need to review the policy of bank to compute drawing power with respect to how the stock is arrived at. This one we have discussed. It is advisable for auditor to prepare a template. So you need to prepare a template right away, right? That when you go there, you will make use of that template, and the template will contain all possibility, permutation and combination, and you can make use for multiple this one. If CBS, in CBS, the DP is computed or updated in multiple ways. In certain cases, the CBS derives the DP using margin percentage and value of security updated. In that scenario, whether margin is correctly updated into the system and whether value of security is correctly updated into the system, that is required to be verified. Then comes comment on adverse features considered significant in top 5 standard large account and which needs management attention. you need to report that contains the all advances. We need to apply filter for standard account first, and then we need to apply top 5 filter on standard account. Now what will happen is, see, it refers to the standard accounts, right? So you need not have to go with the customer ID. The customer may have multiple accounts, so aggregate may be in excess of what you are finding in top 5, but it is categorically mentioned that you need to apply top 5 standard accounts. So it may so happen that top 5 standard accounts may be of a one borrower. It may so happen that, right? So that way, that is an lacuna or gray area therein. Has the branch identified and classified advances into standard, substandard, doubtful, loss asset through the computer system without manual intervention? The most challenging part in this process of audit is to ascertain the classification and marking of NP and CBS, because we are not aware of, right? Many of the times we are not aware of how the system is behaving or what is driving the system, right? Nobody is having an absolute information onto this side. Each bank has a different set of processes followed for identifying and marking of NPA. As an auditor, I would suggest that since you have now an amended LFR, seek a specific information from bank stating that please guide us the system that is in vogue at the bank for NPA identification, and which are the type of cases wherein manual intervention is there for identification. Which are the cases wherein there is a manual intervention. Once we get that information, we can very well refer to that into our LFR as well as per the information provided by the bank. I expect that probably there will be a communication from Center Statutory Auditor or forming part of an closing circular, wherein you will have some guidance onto this or some information from bank on this aspect. From branch level front end, the manual intervention may not be available. However, as discussed earlier, the events may hamper certain events. The one that I am referring to, there is a separate presentation which is there about 14 or 15 type of events, which I could verify or I could extract, wherein there might be, because of those events, there might be some issues with asset classification. And then comes whether branch is following system of classifying the account into SMA 0, 1 and 2, whether the auditor disagree with the branch classification. Now, as I have said, SMA 1, 2, there is no problem because it is on overdue basis and the system can take care of that one. But SMA 0 is a bit tricky. Right, so obtain all advances account, review the NPA related menu codes in CBS for classification of a correct classification. For SMA 0 refers sign of stress. There is an appendix to part C1 of Master Circular on IRS dated 1st of July 2015, which will warrant the classification. Which are those signs? Delay in submission of stock statement, other stipulated returns, financial statement, non-renewal. So see, delay in stock statement can be tracked to CBS, but other stipulated return or the financial statement you cannot track through CBS, right? There will be a manual tracking. Falling short of projection. Now that CBS cannot very well cannot review that part or cannot say anything onto that. This is completely an out of CBS part. A return of 3 or more checks on ground of non-availability of fund or limit, that is the CBS can do. So what we can do is, if we find such kind of thing, there is a return of check 3 times or more in a month, then we need to check whether the this account is properly tagged with SMA 0 or not. So whether the system in place or not, that can be also tested. Devolvement of LC, invocation of BGN, non-payment within 30 days. So you have more than 30 days overdue of a devolvement or an invocation. Third request for extension of time for creation of security. Again, it's an out of CBS event. CBS cannot track that. So how they are tracking it, that at the branch level. Increased frequency of overdraft in current account. Right, that is again a CBS can take care of. Borrower reporting stress in the business and financial. Now that is CBS cannot take care of. So you need to review the borrower's financial statement. And if you find that there are some issues, then you need to mention it that way. One of the important things that we need to be mentioning now is this, the going concern. If the borrower is the auditor's report contains reference to going concern, then it is going to be a difficult time, because then we need to report that way that the SMA 0 is required to be reported. Promoters pledging shares in the borrower's company due to financial stress. Now that is also out of a CBS portion. So you cannot say that this is a CBS part. So again, you need to track what is the policy or the process that the bank would have followed in this one. Whether the upgradation is non-performing asset is in line with norms issued by RBI. So we need to review that whether the upgradation is in terms of RBI guidelines. So first and the foremost thing, obtain NPA accounts upgraded during the year. Report as at the end of the previous year and the end of the current year. So that is also required. So 31st of March 2020, 31st of March 2021. You compare that as well, and also obtain a report of upgradation during there. So there might be slippages during there and upgraded. Right. Quarterly reporting on NPA should also be reviewed, whether at the time of upgradation and entire overdue, that is across all facilities, have been recovered or not. That is very important one, right? So you cannot keep an overdue in one facility and other you have collected and then you say that, you know, yes, you can now upgrade it. No, that's not possible. Whether this information can be accessed through menu codes in CBS for account ledger, inquiry, outstanding EMI. Those menu codes I have already mentioned in my other presentation. So you can link those these two presentations, and you can make a proper audit plan as well. In respect of non-performing asset, has the branch obtained valuation report from approved valuer? So what we need to do is we need to just see the NPA report at the end of each financial year, and we need to check the physical valuation report and correctness of information and whether the same is obtained within 3 years or not. If there is any delay, we need to report it. Whether in cases we concluded the recovery have been properly appropriated, as I have said, we need to check that whether what is the policy of the bank to appropriate the recovery under an NPA account, right? And we need to check CBS through EMI recovery option, that what is the mode, which are the amounts that they have recovered first, and we need to also check reversal of MO, memorandum of interest, right? Unrealized interest, URI, right? So that also which entry the bank has passed and whether that is matching with the bank's accounting policy or not. Then comes this FCNRB. We can go and first check the review of GL for FCNRB deposit. Is there any FCNRB deposit there or not? Is the first question. If yes, then we need to obtain list of FCNRB from system through GL, detailed GL. Then we need to check the date of deposit and the date of maturity. If not a single date of deposit is from our time period, right? Then there is no problem. There is no auto renewal. But we can very well verify that is there any FCNR which is there is an auto renewal mode, or if any of the auto renewal mode is there, or any of the FCNR is of current this period, then we need to check what are the documents that the branch has kept, whether the copy of visa, passport, right, which indicates the person would be outside India for more than 182 days and is non-resident in terms of FEMA guidelines. Right. So in case of a high volume of FCNR deposit, a specific report should be requested containing outstanding FCNR deposit as on 1st of April 2020, 31st of March 2021, and transaction during FY 2021. But if there are large number of cases, then we should be seeking this report. If they are not providing this report, then in that scenario, we can very well say that we have verified only on random basis because the bank could not provide us a report, a requested report. Right, but don't simply write or start with the disclaimers only, right? You need to carry out your processes first, and then you need to start this one. Is the branch complying with the minimum balance requirement? So first and the foremost thing that we need to understand that what is the minimum balance requirement in different type of savings account, whether minimum balance requirement computation is done on an average monthly balance or average quarterly balance. So then what we need to do is we need to select sample from one each type, right? Maybe 5 account, 10 accounts, right? And we need to see whether it is monthly or a quarterly. And we need to just extract this entire account statement. And based on this account statement, we need to see to it whether minimum average balance is being maintained or not. And if that is being maintained, then there is no issue. If not maintained, whether the charges are collected by the bank properly or not. I think that is what I wanted to share. Now, if we have any questions, we can have that as well. Or any questions now, anything that you wanted to have. I think I have tried and covered only amendment part, because covering the entire requires 3 to 4 hours, right? So that is not feasible at all under this current scenario.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. It
Yeah,
was a
we
very
can have an
wonderful
open
session.
discussion or some other system related issue also we can discuss. That's not a problem at all. But at least something is
Yes, sir.
there from
Yes.
members, then I would be happy to clear their doubts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, whether the chartered accountants are free to ask all the data in a soft copy to report in the LFR, sir, where there are details of the accounts and other transaction details and other things, as you say, whether we can ask them in soft copy.
Yeah, see, I would say that yes, we need to. First, that is what is. No one should stop you from asking.
Yes, sir.
Max to max bank can say that I will not provide, but no one stops you from asking. So that is the first point, right?
Yes, sir.
So once you need to obtain, once you need to ask the data, assuming that you get the data, that's perfectly fine. They may say that we may not be in a position to give you data outside the banking, this one. So they
Yeah.
will give you there itself, right? So whatever is your this one working paper, you can ask them that I want this working paper with me, right? So that is what I'll require, but I'll not take the raw report.
Okay.
Right, maybe that is first point, but this is very conservative, this one, that I'll get something, right? So I don't want to say that I'll get something, assuming that we don't get it.
Okay.
Right. So in that scenario, what we need to do is we need to report in such a way that first and the foremost thing is that we requested the bank to provide us this information, which contains the information which was required to be reported in terms of LFAR, revised LFAR.
Okay.
However, we did not get the report, nor we were informed the any equivalent report which is already available. In such scenario, we could not comment on a comprehensive basis that whether this is followed or not. However, on an alternative mechanism, we have carried out XYZ process, right? And that process, based on that process, we could verify 5 accounts, 10 accounts, or whatever is the thing, right? And that, based on that, our observations are based on that. Right. So that way we need to mention. We simply cannot say that branch has not provided data, so we are not in a position to comment. No. You cannot duck the question that way. That is not a good on our part. Right.
Understood, sir.
I think something is there in chat box. Can you mention which? Just a minute.
Please mention which exception.
Which exception reports refer to mainly? I'll do one thing. Just a minute. I'll open one more presentation and I'll show you. Though I have already shared, I'll
Yes.
just show you which are the reports that I am referring to.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
This is the one. I'm not creating a PPT show onto this one, right? I'm just referring to. This is the first report, exception report. This is a transaction exception report, right? And into that, which are the important exceptions that you should be looking into? That is what is mentioned, right? These are the important ones. Then we need to review the irregularity report. Irregularity report means the overdue reports, or where EMI is not paid.
Okay.
Right, kind of. That comes at on daily basis. These 2 reports, sorry. This comes as a daily report, right? So we need to review that report, and into that we need to check these cases. That is there the irregularities due to these aspects. Application of interest is there, then you can say that the borrower will be making payment in some time. But are there any intraday TOD which is not which could not get regularized, or some instrument got passed against clearing and the clearing instrument returned, right? Then it is a serious one. Then comes account where interest code is 0 or flag is not. Now, if this report is available, it's not necessary that all the banks would be providing that report. But if any of the bank is providing that report, we need to check that. But in any case, we can very well verify this interest code from the advances report. Right. In advances report, you can filter out on the interest rate. Right. So that is available.
Yes, sir.
Then come, this is the report that is a very important report, and based on this only we'll have everything. Right. That is report containing advances account. Right. So we need to have this report by anyhow, without which we will not be in a position to do anything. 10%, 10 crore, top 5 accounts. Right. We cannot do anything, and this report should be made available to us. Right.
Yes, sir. So
Then
speaking,
comes,
sir, there is a question in chat box, sir. It is
just a minute,
raised
I'll finish off this 2 point. Yeah, just a minute. I'll finish off this 2 point, and then we'll come to that.
Please, sir,
Right.
please.
Okay. Report on probable NPA or an health code account or a special mention account or red flagged accounts. Right. So that is what is again an important report. Right. It can be named as any way, probable NPA, watch list account, or anything. But we need to have this one. These are the cases wherein the accounts have not slipped into NPA. But before slipping into NPA, if there are some irregularities, then this report is available, and we need to review that. PNPA report, many of the banks say that, right? Then report on NPA account, that is in any case is required. So I would always say that last year, 31st of March 2020 report, 31st of March 2021 report, and if possible, obtain for other quarters as well. Right, it will give you some insight over. So these were the reports I was referring to. Someone had put through those question. Just a minute. Whose question was there?
Selvam.
Yeah, Geeta had a question, right? So Geeta, I have answered that part.
Yes, sir.
Someone has given a feedback. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I accept your feedback, and thanks a lot. Selvam R has a question. The branch generally tell that asset advances classification is done by the software, but when we choose certain account and scrutinize, we observe that they are not classified as NPA, especially with respect to education loan. Your point is perfectly valid, sir, and that is what is I have mentioned. I'll once again share the screen, right? And I'll show you that where I am referring to this 15 or 14. See, this is the part, parameters affecting NPA identification. The reason why the account might not have been classified as NPA because of various parameters not correctly set up into the system or not in sync with sanction letter. So these are the points: discrepancy in setting up of EMI, multiple set of EMI. Is the system determined classification is different than user defined. Manipulation, they have done the manipulation in sanction limit or a drawing power. Incorrect moratorium period is fed into the system. Right, refacement or a reschedulement or a restructuring is done without reporting as restructuring. Installment start date is future date. Installment interest demand date is future date. Fictitious credit, there is a fictitious credit from office account just to inflate the turnover, right, which is not actual turnover. Round tripping from one account to another account, and the round they are just moving around this with one set of funds. Temporary overdraft, default bills, multiple cost IDs, project loans, and this one in case of a failed restructuring. So see, these were the points wherein we may find that at the branch level, if something is not done properly or something is categorically done, the system will not be identifying this account as NPA. Right. So your point is perfectly valid. We all get, not only that in a southern region, you get this kind of thing. Entire India, the same thing is there. Right. So everyone gets the same responses. Right. So you don't feel alienated or anything, because we are all in the same boat, sailing with the same boat. Right. Okay. A minute. What is the recommended percentage of advance to be verified for LFS advance in serial number? As such, there is no recommended this thing. What they have mentioned this time is that whatever you have verified, that will be appearing as what the percentage that you have verified, right? But what I'll say that first 10% and 10 crore in any case you'll be verifying. Like, so that is in any case there. I would always say that, see, the composition may be different in each bank. So someone will have a lot of retail loans, someone will have only SME loans, someone will have large corporate advances. So it depends on. What we generally do is we select sample not on the amount of first, but we select sample based on type of loans first. So we segregate the type of loan first. So amount, in any case, the filter is there. So let's say amount, we select top 20 account, assuming. I'm just giving an example. So we select top 20 from amount disease, right? And for thereafter, what we do is we ensure that almost all product is covered under review. It includes the FD against OD against FD as well. So you don't need to skip any of the part, right? As long as, and then if you see to it, then probably what happens at many of the time, within which once you select the product, within which you can have the multiple this thing that is on amount specific, or even the lower amount as well. So one of the, it requires a boundary wise, right? So both ends, right? So generally what happens that if there are large number of big accounts, then definitely you will have more percentage of the review. But if there are multiple small amount, then there will be a lesser percentage. But ensure that you have multiple products reviewed, right? And the accounts are reviewed. So that is an effective sample out of a population. That is what I'll say. There is no set rule that you need to verify 10% or 90% or 80% or something.
Okay.
Pitaji had a question that can you please share the presentation? Yeah, it is already shared. It is already shared, so you will get it.
Yeah.
Branch would be sending it to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, we have received a presentation. We will share it to the all members, sir.
Yeah.
Your request.
Sorry, your voice is cracking, sir.
Oh.
Yeah. What did you say
now?
last?
Okay, sir. No, nothing else, sir.
Okay.
I just said informed them that the presentation will be shared. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Great. Yeah, any other question?
Yeah, yes, sir.
No question at all? Okay, then I think we can conclude as well, sir. Whichever way you want to.
Okay, sir. Okay. Yeah, yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Sir, it was a great presentation, sir. You have dealt with the line by line and pointed out where exactly we have to do our carry out our audit to complete the thing in a short time, sir. Thank you, sir. Now over to our secretary, CM Manju Bashni, for a vote of thanks. And I thank all the members for their participation. And I once again inform you that the presentation of the speaker will be shared to you in a day or two. Today or tomorrow it will be shared. Thank you. Over to Manju Bashni, madam.
Thank you, sir. Respected CA Kuntal Shah, the speaker for the day, respected chairman, vice chairman, treasurer, SICASA chairperson of Pondicherry branch and Chengalpattu district branch, and my dear esteemed members. It is a great honor to propose vote of thanks. First, I would like to thank the speaker for making excellent presentations and making this seminar interesting and meaningful. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Madam, your voice is
and for sharing your ideas, experience, and in-depth knowledge members for the participation by taking their personal time off on a Sunday. I thank the chairman and members in the managing committee of Pondicherry branch.
Madam, your voice is not audible.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah, yes, madam. Yes.
Sir, are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Please proceed.
Sir?
Yeah, yes, madam. You are audible. Please proceed, madam.
Sir, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, yes, madam.
Is it fine, sir?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, sir.
Sorry, sir. There is a technical problem with the secretary internet connection.
No, you can just switch off your camera. Then probably your bandwidth would be not will be an issue.
Yeah. Madam, you can switch off your camera and you can try it, madam. Okay, sir.
I
Anyway,
thank
sir,
the chairman and members in the managing committee of Pondicherry branch and Chengalpattu district branch for the encouragement and support in the conduct of this program. Special thanks to branch staff, Mr. Pushparaj, for making. Sir, are you able to hear me?
yes. Please proceed,
Hello.
madam. Yes.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Special thanks to branch staff, Mr. Pushparaj, arrangements in conducting this seminar. Thank you once again, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your participation. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
thanks a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. We'll catch you,
Thanks.
sir. Okay.
Right.
Okay, I will convey.
Thank you.
Meeting is
Thank you.
going on. Meeting is
Okay.
going on.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Call him after 20.